What's up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I am here to bring you a manga chapter review of Tokyo Ghoul chapter 21. And this came out a lot earlier than I thought it would. Like, usually this chapter's not out until maybe another 12-14 hours from now. So yeah, it's out a lot early. The translation group was on the ball today, so yeah. Anyways, with this chapter of Tokyo Ghoul, I don't know if it's just me, but when I was reading this chapter, it felt like it had a lot more beef or a lot more stuff going down than previous chapters we had. Like, it felt a lot longer, because usually when it comes to Tokyo Ghoul, and I'm not putting it down or anything, but when I read it really quickly because I'm just so into it, it's so freaking good. But when it came to this chapter, I was reading it the same as always, but it felt like it lasted a lot longer. I don't know if you'll understand what I'm trying to get at, but this chapter felt slightly longer. But regardless of that, the chapter, man, it's freaking hype. Like, oh, that ending conclusion, Pineapple-kun, Seido is amazing. That's his new name, Pineapple-kun. That's what he is, because he rips off this dude's head. Seido, man. Poor freaking Seido. I said it last chapter, okay? I said how sad and tragic that was, but with this chapter, you gotta like the new direction with his character, or how much he has changed from how he was. Like, he was a character that was kind of like Kaneki. He was easily broken, he was scared, and then seeing him in this chapter right at the end, the cliffhanger, oh, fucking sucks. He comes in, he rips off this investigator's head, and he's like, oh, you look like a freshly picked pineapple. That's fucked up, dude. That's fucked up shit. So, yeah, Seido has changed a lot. Like, he's killing his own old friends, kind of. So, it just goes to show you how twisted he is and how broken he is. I mean, we gotta wonder, like, how far gone is he really? I mean, is he that far gone to where there is no salvation or redemption for him? Or is there a possibility like Kaneki has gotten? I mean, we have to wonder that right now. And I mean, what is going to happen when, you know, Seido's former teammates meet him? I mean, what are they going to think? Like, what if Akuna sees Seido? Like, what is she going to do when she sees him in that state? I mean, I highly doubt she will really recognize him at first, because he doesn't even really look the same. He's got white hair, he's a one-eyed ghoul, but I mean, she most likely knows information about Kaneki because, you know, she's watching over him, so she might kind of realize it's Seido, but I mean, he doesn't even look the same. It looks like he's aged, I mean, all sorts of stuff like that. So, yeah, it's crazy seeing, once again, in this chapter, how much tragedy Ishida-sensei puts into this series. Just making Seido as a character like he is. Just like, it's sad. It's so sad. But it's badass. It's just like, there's going to be a lot of people at the end of this chapter, after they finish reading it, going to be jumping onto the Seido fanboy boat. Oh yes, there's going to be a lot of fanboys. After this chapter, I sense a lot of people jumping onto Seido and saying, oh, he's a fucking amazing character, because that's crazy. He's a dark character, ripping investigators' heads off like pineapples, and now he gets the nickname Pineapple-kun. So yeah. So let's move past that. Let's talk about Roma, or the clowns, and Uta, and stuff like that. So, we have it to where Roma takes a hit, and she goes and rushes the investigators, and as soon as you see her rush the investigator, she gets slashed by this, you know, dude that's very arrogant. He's very arrogant, he thinks he's better than the old generation of investigators, and she takes a hit and gets slashed. And at first you thought, like, oh my god, the clowns just got, you know, wounded once again, because it made me happy when I saw Uta get stabbed in the face by Suzuya, and with seeing Roma, you know, getting stabbed like that, I was getting really happy. And then all of a sudden, soon as that page is done, you just see her have this twisted smile, stab the dude straight for the stomach, lift him up, and then she smiles and drinking his blood as he's sitting there bleeding out above her. That, oh my god, like, oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna have to say, even though I hate the clowns, I straight up fucking hate them, that was badass. It was really badass scene. I like, wow. And then all of a sudden, Hiroko comes in, he's going to try to stab Roma, and Uta comes into play, and he's like, nope, you're not touching her, and yeah, that little scene ends. So I'm kind of hyped to see what direction that's going to take in the next couple chapters. Hiroko and Uta and all that, with that dialogue, because that's going to be very, very interesting. So yeah, now moving past that, we also have, once again, more setup for Kaneki being very similar to Arima. Last chapter, it was mentioned that Kaneki was similar, like he's kind of similar to how Arima was, and in this chapter, it wasn't even hidden. Like, I mean, it was so freaking obvious, because the way you had the investigators kind of narrating and giving us exposition, like, oh my god, Arima was amazing, he was kind of like a god, he made everybody around him feel envious, and, like, they were very envious of how Arima was so strong, taking out ghouls, and how, like, godlike he was, and they were saying, like, Kaneki's starting, or Sasuke's starting to remind them of Arima. So yeah, more setup towards that. And on the other side of things, Sato's turning into more like Kaneki. And I know Chibi mentioned last week that it's very ironic if you think about it, because Sato's entire position has switched. He's went over to the Ghoul side. It's like he's in Kaneki's shoes. And then Kaneki has changed sides, and he's turned into CCG. I mean, you gotta think about it. It's like the roles switched around, and it's weird. It's very ironic. So yeah, that's one part of this chapter. And then we go into the Akira scene. Oh my god, that scene. Yo. Okay, so Akira giving off those death stares. Like, I said it last week. I said it in my last review. Akira is giving off those, like, original her father motto looks. Like, those eyes, her face expression. She's putting on that rape face, and she is wrecking everybody in her path. She doesn't give a shit. And in this chapter, we get some dialogue where it tells us that Akira has finally mastered her Quinke after a year of training. 1 year of training. Come to find out, though, Mado, you know, her father, he had that Quinke, and he mastered that Quinke in under a couple of days. It took her an entire year. It just goes to show you how strong Mado was, and how intelligent, or how great and experienced of a fighter he was in CCG, to be able to master a Quinke in under a couple of days, when it took his daughter an entire year to master. That's scary. That's really scary. It just goes to show you that gap difference, and how lucky, you know, Toka gotten against Mado in the past. That she was incredibly lucky to even be able to beat Mado in that state. So yeah. Also, we also have it to where Naki loses his 2 bodyguard subordinates in the chapter, and that right there, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I was kind of sad when I saw that. It was depressing. I mean, poor Naki. I mean, he's kind of crazy, psychotic. I like his character. He's a badass from what we saw in part 1 of Tokyo Ghoul. But to see these 2 characters that haven't had much development, like, they haven't had the biggest spotlight, but they've been there, and we know about these characters, and they've always been there to support Naki since the beginning, since his introduction. And to see how these 2 jumped in front of Naki, took the blows, and died right there in this chapter. And that one panel that symbolizes, you know, there's just a solid white background, and you see Naki putting his head on top of both of their dead bodies, and just crying. It's sad. It really is. Like, I gotta give props to Ishida for actually adding in those type of emotions in this chapter. Like, once again, Ishida, the master at adding in some emotions, some tragedy, and some really good feels when it comes to some of these scenes. He really knows how to have these tone shifts, and especially how to crank up the dark themes in the recent chapters. So, yeah, that's the chapter in a nutshell. Great chapter of Tokyo Ghoul. I can't wait to see what is going to happen next, because Sato is probably going to be going in and wrecking some people. I want to see Akira see Sato. I really want to see that done. Oh yeah, actually, I'm about to miss one thing. Okay, so at the beginning of the chapter, there was some Mutsuki dialogue. Like, Mutsuki was talking like, am I going to be able to recover from this? Like, Mutsuki, as we know, has got stabbed. And there was some weird dialogue on the first page. It was the first page, and there was some really weird dialogue, and I don't know how to take that. Like, was that Mutsuki narrating inside of his mind, thinking about what he did in the past? Like, I mean, from what we find out is, like, someone killed a cat. Was that Mutsuki? Did Mutsuki kill a cat? Because I don't really know how to take that beginning, you know, page. I might have read it wrong. It's very late at night. It's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning, so I might have read it wrong, so don't kill me if I miss something very obvious. But for some reason, just it's not clicking in my mind. If that is, you know, some form of hints of Mutsuki's backstory, then we'll have to see where it leads. But anyways, I want to end the review here of Tokyo Ghoul. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.